All right, we got the 1811 in the shop, and the customer or the previous owner that we purchased it from said that he thought it was a starter issue, that the engine would turn freely by hand, but there was something going on with the starter, and I think I've confirmed that this morning. Rotated by hand with right on the crank snout here. You just insert a 5/8 socket and a extension through there. Rotated it by hand. It feels really good. Nice and smooth. I pulled the plugs, took a look at them. Everything's nice in there. There's no, there's no rust in the cylinders or anything weird like that. And the spark plugs in this thing look really nice. Like it has been run, but it's not like they're brand new plugs, but they look clean. For a flathead engine, they look really clean. So I think this is a good motor, but we do have a starter problem. Now on this machine, the starter is down in there. So one thing that makes the Magnums a real pain on this tractor, on any of the wide frame tractors, spread frame tractors, there's this, you can see the lug for the starter there, but the bolts that hold it in are back inside there. So it's possible to do it in frame where you can pop this shroud off here and come in and try to get to the 2 bolts to hold the starter on. But it's not really worth all that energy and time and frustration. It's easier, in my opinion. It's just about the same amount of work and less frustration to just yank it up out. So just for reference, you can see I've got another mag here. Those are the bolts for the starter. And you zoom out here a little bit, you can see that shroud basically goes right over top of that whole area there. So, and then the frame's sitting like freaking here, so you can't really get to much anything. So, I think we're probably just going to pull the motor. And I'll show you what it does on camera here, but it's right. I don't think it'll even crank at all right now. I got it to turn a couple revolutions earlier, but all right, take a look at the drive shaft. You can see what's. Oh. Now if I hold it there, I can actually watch the battery or the starter cable start to get hot. Like it's not that it can't develop an electrical flow, it just can't create that electrical current into rotational motion. So there's definitely a problem with it, and I don't want to hold it there and cook the freaking harness. I actually checked it. I did a voltage drop test, and it definitely pulls enough amps that it should be spinning just fine. I mean, it drops to, like, on a good healthy battery, it'll drop to 10 volts and sit there for a while. And basically, it would sit there. If you held it down, it would sit there until that wire just got super, super hot. So it's not in the wiring; it's in the starter itself. And then I pulled the plugs. Like I said, I pulled the plugs before, and I rotated it without building any compression, and it will spin a little bit, but it just sounds awful. It's just it's gross. So I was hoping we wouldn't have to pull the motor, but we're gonna have to do it anyway. And I really don't know exactly what we're gonna do with this machine yet, because the original thought was that this would be kind of the mule that we would use for harnesses, for building harnesses. So this would be like the mock-up machine for all of the harness building that we're going to be doing, just so I can get wire lengths like perfectly dialed in. But it's such a nice machine, and that mag, I'm pretty sure this is a really good engine. I haven't done a compression test or anything yet because I can't, but I think this thing's in good shape. And I watched the oil pressure light come off when I spun it without the plugs in, so I know it builds oil pressure just fine. And quickly as well. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure. We're going to call this a revival right now because I'm going to revive the engine and then get it to run off of the frame. And then we'll make the decision. Do we put it back in the frame and run the tractor as is? Or do we keep it out of there and start using this to piece together for the other machine? The 782 is missing the spring. The wiring harness in this is really nice. Looks like it's cleaned up and very nice in there. The grill's in decent shape. It doesn't have the hood latch, but The 72 is missing this spring, and it's also missing both of those springs. And this one only has one of them, but so there's some stuff off of this. This also has the 3-turn steering box. It's got the nicer steering box. So there's some things in here that we might want to actually use on another machine. But it'd almost be a shame to just... I mean, that thing is clean, man. If they hadn't chopped into the fender pan, we probably would have been... I'd almost say we just use the 782 that we just revived as the mock-up chassis, but I don't know. It's a tough call to make. We'll see. We'll get the engine out of there. We'll get it running. At the very least, for what we paid for it, if we've got a good running mag, then it's just paid for itself. So then we just kind of decide what makes the most sense. So thanks for sticking around, y'alls. And yeah, we'll try to keep you updated.